Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Rotaract Club of University of Moratuwa, it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, which is part of Mora TechConnect, a project aimed at enhancing IT-based technological skills through informative sessions and workshops. Mora TechConnect empowers students and young professionals by offering hands-on experience in various technological fields, whether you're just starting out or looking to sharpen your skills. This project is here to provide valuable insights to help you grow in this fast-paced tech world. Today's session focuses on one of the most important building blocks of web development, HTML and CSS. These tools form the structure and style of every website you interact with, and understanding them is key to creating engaging and functional web pages. This session will give you the practical knowledge you need to get started or enhance your web development skills. We are honored to have Sanka Bimsar with us today, an experienced speaker who will guide us through this exciting session on HTML and CSS. And we would also like to acknowledge Hypercube and IES Labs, our knowledge partners, for their support in making this session possible. Without further ado, let me hand over the spotlight to Sanka Bimsar. Over to you, Sanka.
Okay, thank you, Sajid. And is my voice clear to you guys? Please give me an answer. Hello, hello. Is my voice clear to you guys? Okay. I think people are raising hands because it's clear. Can someone tell by unmuting?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thanks. Please wait, I'll share my screen. Okay, is my screen is visible to you guys? Okay. Okay, thank you. Then, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this session. And because we believe distributing and sharing our knowledge that we have gained so far throughout the years is really valuable for entry-level developers and IT enthusiastic people like you guys. So thank you very much for inviting myself. And I'm, as mentioned by the organizers, I'm Sanka Bimsara, and I'm currently a full stack developer and a team lead at Hypercube Consultancy Services. And Hypercube Consultancy Services is a software service and consultancy company operating in Sri Lanka. And we provide software solutions and IT consultancy services to companies, government institutes, and also we outsource our developers for other software companies too. So that's briefly about myself and my background. So without further delays, let's move on with the session. Okay. I was asked to conduct a basics of web development session, and I got ready with that content, and these are the things that we will be discussing today. But according to my opinion, and according to the experts' opinion that I was discussing, there are so many resources that we can learn basics of web development. There are so many free resources, and you can access them from nowhere. So in this session, other than the basics of web development, we'll discuss these things. You can see in the screen, we'll discuss what are websites and what are web applications specifically, and what are the steps of web application development, how to handle a project, how to start creating a project, and how to continue with the development, and what are the things to be considered when going on with the IT project or a web development project, such kind of things. After that, we'll discuss about fundamentals of web technologies, as mentioned in the introduction: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, with some limited hands-on experiences. Then let's move on to the advance of some advanced web technologies, like web frameworks and various roles associated with web development, and various aspects of web development that you will have to learn in recent future. So then after that, finally, there are some bonus tips as an experienced engineer to for you guys. So let's start with our first approach. Okay, I think everyone is familiar with the word website, right? No, that's a really silly question actually, but website is some kind of collection of web pages, and they are typically hosted on a server. You can see those websites using your web browser, and you can access via internet. But as software developers, we have to differentiate what is a website and what is a web application, or what is a web system, and what kind of approaches we need to have, what kind of understanding we need to have when going on with this web development field about these websites and web applications. So basically, website is some kind of collection of web pages like you see in everywhere in the internet. Like you can see news sites or blog sites or any other thing. It is referred to as a website. But what is a web application specifically? Web application is some kind a different thing. It's a more interactive process than websites. Actually, web application is a subset of website, but websites are some simple things. Web application need more interactions with the users, and the basic difference is the functionality. Users can interact with web applications rather than typical websites. For example, when you are using a news website in Sri Lanka, for example, just like News First or other there no anything, then just you have what you have to do is just go on with different news articles, go on with different web pages for articles, and just such kind of things. But for example, let's think about a social media platform like Facebook or something. Then like Google Mail or something. Then that's some kind of different. We can do a lot of things. We can interact with that software applications, and it's not just about browsing and reading things. There are things that we can interact with that application. So those are referred to as web applications. And as software developers and as entry level developers, we need to have an understanding about what is a website and what is a web application. And we have to have the knowledge about web application development rather than developing typical websites. I myself, as an when I was in first year in the university, I also had some confusions. I always start working with typing a code, opening an some kind of ID like VS Code or something like that, and I start coding. But after some time, the outcome was not expected as I expected in the beginning. So with the time, with the experience, I learned that coding is not the first thing. We have to have a proper understanding about the outcome that we are going to build. So in the steps of development, the first step of a web development, not only web development, first step of developing any kind of software product is planning and requirement gathering. Planning is the basic and the most important thing when we are going with the software product. So there are few steps to consider. First one is, what is the application is supposed to do. I'll add some singular words here and there for more clarity in the meantime. So what is application is supposed to do? මොකක්ද මේ application එකෙන් කරන්නේ? මොකක්ද මේ software එකෙන් කරන්නේ? That's the most important thing during the development process of any kind of software. It will be a web application, it will be a mobile application, or it's some kind any other software, like it is a AI product, or it is a IoT product, or anything. You have to have the idea about what will be the outcome of this application, and what is the application is supposed to do. So that's the main thing we have to consider before starting the development. And then the next thing is, who will be using the application that we are going to build, who will be the target audience, and who will be affected. What is the user base of the application? For example, think about you're creating an application for students. Then you have to have a clear idea for school students. You have to have a clear idea that this application will be used by school students, and the tactics, the strategies used in various development cycles should be suitable and should be matching for school students, for their age groups, for their mentality, for their mindset, everything. On the other hand, for example, if you are going to create an application for adults in Sri Lanka, some kind of mobile application or something, then your development strategies should follow uh, different tactics suitable for adults, like accessibility options, like hearing aids, visual aids, some kind of things. So you have to have a clear idea about who will be the user base of the application before starting the development process. Then the next thing is, what features are necessary and what features are optional. For example, this is really important, guys. For example, let's think about you are creating an e-commerce web application, like you are like Daras or something. They have a collection of features, like they have some major features like creating user accounts, viewing products, ordering products, payment processing, and delivery. And in the middle of that, there are some other minor features, like product wish list and customized product recommendations and such kind of things. So we have to have clear understanding about what features are the necessary and what features are the most affected features in the system, and what are the features that will be not affected directly to the system but will be important for the system. So you have to differentiate between those two kind of features before starting of the development, because every time when we start going to create a web application, there are bundle of features, bundle of requirements from the person who will give the project to us, and we have to differentiate between what will be critically need, what will be intermediately critical, and what are the things that are optional. So having this understanding is really important for have a smoother development process. So before going on with coding, you have to have a clear understanding about this. So as entry level developers and future engineers, I think you have to go on with this planning and requirement gathering process before quickly starting coding, quickly opening a IDE and starting coding development process. Okay, then we can have another. Actually, this is some kind also an interesting passage of the development. So next thing is user interface and user experience design. before going with the coding process, during this phase, you can have a clear understanding about, okay, now you have the requirements, and now your head knows what are the things to be developed. And before going on with the coding, you can design the perspective of your mindset in a design canvas. So that's user interface and user experience designing. There are a lot of important things that should be considered, and there are a lot of advantages of going with this UI designing and user experience designing phase. So one thing is, user interface is the most and the first interaction between the software and the user. User interface is like some kind of copy of the system that we are going to develop. So it's clear that well designed interface attracts the user to the system. හොඳ interface එකක් කියන්නේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම user වේ system එකට නැත්නම් application එකට user attract කරගන්නවා කියන එක. So before starting with the development, we have to have a good understanding about the user interface, and we need to design actually, I'm not using the beautiful word, not beautiful, but an attractive user interface. And also, other than the attractiveness, user interface should have a higher user experience design. Always we have to think that users as foolish and crazy people in the world, and they don't know about anything, and we have to give from scratch to the users. They all the features in the system should be convenient to use. Users do not have to have confusions when using the applications. So this user interface and user experience design is very important to attract the users to the system. And other than that, that's the user's point of view. Other than that, in the developer's point of view, developers can have clear understanding about the the requirements and the features that we are discussed in the planning phase are clearly displayed in our final product. And we can easily understand and easily identify what are the mistakes that we have done in the planning process, and we can get feedbacks from other stakeholders of the project. For example, if the project is given to you by a client or any other, like from a lecturer, if it is academic project, you can communicate with them about the mistakes you have done in the planning process and what are the missing things, because user interface design is the prototype or the first interaction between the user and the developer. So as developers, there are a lot of advantages of user interface design, creating a good user interface with user experience design. So those are the important things. And there are few steps of user interface design into. First one is wireframe design, and then user interface mockups, and then prototypes. So wireframes are something like this. This is really some kind of skeleton of the application that we are going to build. This is the mobile application. Don't think about that. But for web applications also, wireframe is some kind of this. It displays the skeleton of the application that you are going to build, and there are no any visually appealing things designed in the app wireframe. This is for getting a basic understanding about what we are going to build. And then user interface mockups mean this thing, the modification of the wireframe, applying colors and applying images, visual themes, maybe animations or transitions. By applying those such kind of things to wireframe, you can create the UI mockup. Now you can see, using this kind of UI mockup, you can have a clear understanding about what we are going to build, what will be the final outcome. Okay, so after that, after designing these UI mockups, you can have UI prototypes, like simulating the process of going forward with the application. මේ බටන් එකේ මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ, මේ බටන් එකේ කොතෙන්ටද යන්නේ, මේ ටෙක්ස්ට් බොක්ස් එකේ මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ, ඒ වගේ හැම දෙයක්ම you can simulate using user interface design tools. So you can use tools like Figma for user interface design, it's the most popular and the most standard tool used in the industry. So before going with the development coding process, you can use a tool like Figma to design the perspective of view, perspective of your mindset about the system, and you can present your user interface to the stakeholders of the project, maybe for the development team, maybe for the project sponsor, or maybe for an academic personnel from the university or anyone. Okay, so that's the second thing. And now we can move on with the interesting part and the most exciting part: development, planning, and implementation. So when we move on with the development process, first thing come to my mind is the technology stack conclusion. There are thousands of technologies in current world we can use for the same purpose. We can we you will have already have an understanding about there are a lot of for programming languages, there are a lot of web development technologies that we can use, but we have to select one technology stack that is suitable for our purpose, our requirement. So that's the first thing, and that's the step one of development planning: selecting what is the most suitable technology stack for our web application. There are a lot of things to consider. අපිට බලන්න ඕන දේවල් කීපයක් තියෙනවා. ඒක තීරණය කරද්දී එකක් තමයි the complexity of our application, and what will be the scope of our application. For example, if it is a highly complex and it has a highly complex architecture, then the technology stack will be different. And if it is a simple application with a limited number of web pages and will be used by limited number of users, then the technology stack will be a different one. Then if it is using large amount of data, like a web application related with IoT technology, then we need to have some good performances, and we need to store large amount of data, and then we have to think about that. Then some other things that we have to consider is the development timeline. Some technology stacks need large amount of time to develop, and some technology stack need a limited amount of time to learn. So the learning curve is a really important thing when deciding about the technology stack. Then the step two is database designing. Most of the web applications, and almost all, have to store data about the web application. For example, if you are going to create an e-commerce web application, uh, you have to store data about products, you have to store data about users and orders and payment details, uh, really important things. So we have to think about the database designing and database structures. What are the technologies that we are going to use for database? And we can discuss about things later. I clustered some example technology stacks for those things in the end of this presentation. So we have to think about that also in before starting the development. Then the development methodology. It is also a really important thing. Development methodology means how the development phase is going to be worked on. For example, let's think about a simple project. For example, you are creating a personal portfolio website for you. Then you don't have any other constraints from other stakeholders, or any you don't have any supervisor, just freedom for you, and you can start development from today, and you can have any amount of time to develop, and you can deploy the portfolio website at any time you want. And that's a simple methodology. But for example, if let's think if it is an academic software project, then you have timelines. Your lecturer is asking to present UI interface after about 2 weeks, then present 30% of the features after about 1.5 months. Then you have to have a proper understanding about what things to be done first and what are the things to be done later, and what are the stable intermediate releases, such kind of things. So development methodologies referred to as that. And what are the things should be done, if the thing should be done in clustered as individual project, then you can do it in that way. Or if it is a team project, how the tasks are divided between the team members and what are the things that should be done at the first place, and that's the development methodology. So for your knowledge, I'll share some terminologies like waterfall method, agile and scrum method. Search in the internet for such technologies and you can see what are the things, and that will be really helpful when you are going with academic software development projects in the future. Okay, then step 4 is the interesting thing, the implementation part. You can start coding and you can implement what are the things you are planned in the planning process and what are the things you are designed in the user interface process. Now you can start coding and create your web application from the scratch. Okay, so that's the three phases from the beginning for creating a high quality web application, rather than start developing here and there and delivering a low quality web application. You can follow these steps for a good and high quality web application outcome. Okay, then this is really an important part: system testing and user acceptance testing. I'm not going to not going much deeper about these things, but giving only an understanding about these things, because really these things really matters when you are creating applications for not for you but also for other users. So you need I'll describe what are these terminologies and what what are these refers to. And unit testing is some kind of testing your applications by component wise. For example, let's get the early example, the e-commerce website. It has some few components like user account creation and product catalog, then payment processing and ordering process. So unit testing means testing each component separately. You have to test is the user account creation process is working fine. You have to test payment processing, that process is working fine. You have to test is the ordering process is working fine. Likewise, then integration testing means you have to test the earlier mentioned things all together. For example, think about you are creating an order in AliExpress or Daras. Then integration testing means starts from the account creation, then you browsing for your products, then then you place an order, then you process the payment and you have the order. So you have to test the whole process at in one flow. That's the integration testing. And user acceptance testing means giving the product to real users. You may be the developer, you are testing it in the developer's mindset, but the product will be, or the software application or the web application will be used by some other people. Like as we mentioned earlier, if it is a application for school students, then you are not a school student, and the application will be given for school students for using. Then you have to provide the application for school students and follow on with use acceptance testing, how the school students are using this, what are the things that included in the feedback, and මොනවද යාලා හිතන්නේ, මොනවද යාලට මොන හරි confusions තියෙනවද වගේ දේවල් හිතන්න ඕන. Then another important thing is cross platform testing. These days, uh, laptops or computers are not the most most famous device of using internet or browsing web application. You have the mobile phone with you and it is a smaller screen. So when you are creating web application, even it is a very small application like a personal portfolio, it is a very complex web system. That application should be compliant with every screen sizes, every device, every web browser, and all other things. So cross-platform testing is that testing with the mobile phone, if it is working fine, and if the website is or the web application is correctly displaying to the user, and it works in different web browsers like Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, likewise. So that's really important. So that's the testing phase. Then the final is the deployment and system maintenance. You can I'm not mentioning these things much deeper because these are some advanced techniques. Just have a knowledge about. We start development, we start developing the application, then we test the application. Now we have to deliver the application for the users. So we have to host the application in some kind of server environment. We have to have a domain name, like if it is a school system, school administration system, some kind of name for the application and some kind of domain name, and we have to host it in the server. We have to select the most suitable option for deployment process, and likewise. I'm not mentioning these things much deeper because these are advanced things, but you have to have an understanding about before and with the development process, how to deliver the web application that I am developing to the target audience or target user base. It does not finish us up after development. We have to deliver the high quality and highly performing application to the users even after the development. And also monitoring and bug fixes. Even after you have completed the development of the application, you have to have an understanding about, is the application is working continuously fine, is the application is giving errors here and there, giving occasional errors, and related things. So you have to have an understanding as a developer. You have to give updates if there are any errors or any error, if there are any bugs, and you have to be responsible on that as a high quality software developer. So okay, so basically those are the steps that you have to follow as a software developer. And I believe as an engineer, I believe every software developer has to follow this process before and while going on with the software application development. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට වෙන්නේ අර හරි අයිඩියා එකක් නැතුව හරි ටාගට් එකක් නැතුව අපි අතනින් මෙතනින් පොඩ පොඩ ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් කරගෙන දන්න විදිහට කෝඩ් කරගෙන යනවට වඩා හරි පාත් එකක මුල ඉඳලම වැඩේ කරගෙන එනකොට අපිටම තේරෙනවා we can have a high quality output, and also we can go on with the smoother development process while learning. අපිට ඉගෙන ගන්න ගමන්නේ මේ දේවල් කරන්න. එතකොට හොඳ knowledge එකක් එන ගමන්ම මේ දේවල් කරන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මේ process එකේ smoothly යයි. Okay. Now let's move on with the technological thing. What are the fundamental web technologies and also what are the advanced web technologies? Okay. We'll start with the basics, and these actually the basics. Godakma basics දේවල්, and there are thousands of resources in the internet. Even there are thousands of free resources in the internet. You can learn these things. Even University of Moratuwa Open UM platform is giving you the free access for these basic web development courses. You can follow that courses too. So I will give an understanding about what are these things, and for what purpose these technologies are used, and what are the advanced theories behind these concepts, and what are the advanced technologies built on top of these technologies. So if you don't have and if you like to have a basic understanding about these things, you can follow such kind of resources, and you can self-learn those things, and then you can follow what are the things I am discussing in today's session, and have a further understanding about these technologies and the advanced technologies we are going to discuss in the end of this presentation. Okay, first one is and මේ තුන these three technologies are the most fundamental and most core concepts used in web development. Without these technologies, or without these three words, actually, there are no any field called web developer. There are no any process called web development. So you can have understanding about very much advanced concepts like web frameworks, maybe React, maybe Angular, any kind of things. But everything is built on top of these three technologies. First one is HTML, then CSS, and the basic JavaScript programming language. Okay, let's start with the HTML part. And as mentioned in the screen, HTML is the backbone of the development. HTML is used to create the structure of the web page that we are going to develop, and we can yeah. So we can define the layout of the web page using HTML, using different HTML tags. We don't have to have visual styles using HTML. Just we can create the structure of the web page using HTML, and how the components of the web page are aligned, uh, and how the alignments are created in the web page. So such kind of things are created using HTML, and HTML is not actually a programming language; it's a markup language. So the basic functionality is creating the layout or the structure of the web page using HTML. Then the point of using CSS or cascading style sheets, it's used for the styling purpose. We can use visually appealing styles, and we can modify the HTML layout we developed earlier with CSS. So we can have different styles, like we can apply different colors, we can apply alignments, we can apply different themes, different fonts, and multiple things. So we can create the structure of the web page using HTML first, then we can apply styles to the web page using CSS. Then the next thing is basic JavaScript, the JavaScript programming language. So what's the purpose of using JavaScript in web development? Uh, yes, you can create the display various components using HTML and CSS, but you have to have sometimes you need to have user input, sometimes you need to have doing various programmatical things. So such kind of purpose, we have to use JavaScript programming language as a basic language component. So we'll go on with an example. For example, you need to have let's assume you need to have such this kind of text box in or text input in your web application. So you can use this kind of basic HTML structure. You can have a simple form, and you can have a simple input and a button, and the output will be likewise. Just you have a basic text input with a button. You don't have any colors or any styles related to this. So because we are only using HTML here, so it's only the basic layout or the basic structure of the web page. So using HTML, it's only the basic structure is created like that, like this. Then let's add some CSS into this text box like this. You see how the visual appealing is changed with the application of CSS for the previously developed text input and the button. So you can add this kind of colors, this kind of border radius things and borders and many more things to the text input, and the text input is visually appealing rather than the previous one. And also for the button, we added green color, and we added green color background and white color text color. Then the button is also more visually appealing than the previous one. So this is the point of using CSS in the web development. We are using HTML for the structural requirement, then we are using CSS for the styling requirement. Now you can understand what are the differences between these two technologies and what is the purpose of using these technologies. අපිට structure එක හදාගන්න HTML පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට වැඩි ලස්සන කරගන්න CSS පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. So we have now we can at last we have this email text box with the button. So then let's see what is the purpose of using JavaScript. For example, in the earlier text box, for it is mentioned as the email text input. So user is going to input the email, and you have to validate if the email is a valid email. You know, to be a valid email should have the at symbol, and email should have a domain name at the end of the email. So we can validate that using JavaScript. You can you have already created the text input, you have applied CSS styles for a better visual appealing outcome, and you are using JavaScript to validate whether the user input given to that email text field is a valid email. So that is the programmatical part, and for that programming part we are using JavaScript in web development. So those are the basic concepts. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the basic concepts in web development, and these are the purposes, and these are the scenarios that you have to use those three core concepts in web development. Now, so I think now you have the understanding about what is HTML and what is the purpose of using it. Then what is CSS and what is the purpose of using it. Then what is JavaScript and what is the purpose of using JavaScript in simple web applications. Okay, so these are the things that I want to give only a simple understanding about what are these technologies. And now you can search internet. Now you can browse various resources in the internet. If you don't know HTML and CSS, you can follow different YouTube playlist or different. There are a lot of articles, there are a lot of websites like W3 schools in the internet, and you can self-learn the core concepts and the advanced concepts behind HTML, and what are the uh, modern updates, and what are the latest things in CSS, and what are the things that you can done in using simple JavaScript. You can follow these things, and I recommend you to use the open UOM platform provided by the University of Moratuwa, and they are giving really good courses to you, and you can follow them without any charges. You can also have certificates, and you can follow those courses for better understanding and to have a better knowledge about these concepts. Okay, so going on with that, now let's move on with the advanced technologies, and what are the things that you have to learn for creating more advanced and more interactive web applications rather than creating simple and basic web applications or websites. So I think this is the most important things that you can get from myself, because you have a lot of resources for the earlier concepts, but for these advanced technologies still you have a lot of resources, but you have to have a good understanding about what are these technologies and what are the purpose of using each of these technologies in the web development process. So I think from now on, this is the most important thing of the important part of this session actually. Okay, let's move on with these concepts. So in web development process, even we can build everything from scratch using fundamental development technologies. Like even we can build most of the things using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, only basic technologies. There are some occasions we need to have more interactive technologies, and we need to have more interactions with the user. Likewise, we have to have different complex forms. We have to have different complex user scenarios, user events. Like button එකක් click කරාම මොකද වෙන්නේ, text box ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා, text box එකක් type කරාම මොකද වෙන්නේ වගේ දේවල් ගොඩක් අපිට consider කරන්න වෙනවා ටිකක් complex web application එකකට යද්දී. So in such scenarios we can't rely on the basic concepts like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have to move on. We have to move on with the advanced concepts and advanced things behind complex web applications. So you would have to have an understanding about these advanced technologies, and what are the purpose of using this, what are the core concepts behind these technologies to be a powerful software developer, powerful web developer after a certain amount of time. So these advanced technologies can be divided into few aspects as front end development, back end development, and database designing. Likewise, then let's differentiate what is front end development, and let's differentiate what is back end development, and what are the other things related with these basic two development methodologies. Okay, let's start with the front end development. Front end development is actually, this is the things that will be displayed to the user. As the name suggests, front end, the front part of the web application. For example, users are dealing with the web application using the front end view of the web application. For example, if you are creating a e-commerce application, the front end refers to the from let's start from the user creation. The front end refers to the user creation form, the user login buttons. Then after creating the account, the product catalog, how the products are displayed to the user, how the product advertisements are displayed, what are the strategies used for user interfaces, such kind of things. Then how the pages are transitions from how the page transition works, and these are the importance of front end web development. And also, if you have ever used a e-commerce application like Daras, there are a lot of buttons, there are a lot of text boxes. You can interact with that application, and if you click on the add to cart button, then it immediately add the product to your cart. And if you click on something like add to wish list button, then it immediately add the product to the wish list, and you will be notified with the notification. Then there are a lot of interactive things created in the front end. So front end development is the point of interaction with the user and the application. So this is really important, and you have to have you have a clear UI at the first place, and you have to create that UI using different front end technologies, different front end web development practices, to create the most attractive and the most attractive outcome with the higher user experience index. So what's the point of using advanced front-end web development technologies rather than using basic HTML and CSS? That's the next thing. If you are using advanced front-end web development technology, or a web development front-end framework or front-end library, you have different advantages like this. Uh, for example, if you are using basic HTML CSS, you have to create the single web page for each purpose. But if you are using a framework, you can reuse the things that you code, and you can have reusable components. You can have pre-built. You can use also pre-built components by others. You can browse for the internet for pre-built front-end components, and you can use them in your web applications. So those are the important things that you can consider when selecting a front-end framework actually. So those are the things. And also highly interactive and dynamic. You can create highly interactive and dynamic interfaces when you are using front-end frameworks, and you can validate user requests, validate user inputs, and such kind of things. So those are the importance of using front-end frameworks. And there are a lot of technologies and popular technologies that provide these facilities, as mentioned in the screen also. The most popular things, popular technologies are React and Angular and Vue.js. So you can select any of these, and there are things to consider when selecting this kind of technology too. And first one is actually, as you are entry level developers, first one is to consider the timeline or the learning curve of the technology. For example, if the web application you are going to develop is going needed to be built in a very short amount of time, React.js will be the most suitable thing, because the learning curve of React is relatively easy than Angular. But if the web application you are going to build is really complex and have complex architectures, a com- complex architecture, then the AngularJS will be a good option for the front end framework. And also then you have to think about the performance requirements, and actually Vue.js is also a good option to beginners, and such kind of things. Then another important thing is styling libraries actually. And now you know about CSS, and we can do different stylings using CSS. We can create beautiful web pages. But what's the point of using everything from scratch when we have this this kind of CSS libraries with us? For example, search for this Bootstrap or Tailwind CSS libraries, and you can see how the things are already pre-built in the internet, and you can use them very easy without creating them from scratch and without creating from the beginning. So search for these terminologies, search for what is React, what are front-end frameworks, what is React, what is Angular, and what are CSS frameworks, and search what is Bootstrap, what is Tailwind, what are the purpose of using these. And if you are going with the web application project, and you can decide what will be suitable for me, what will be suitable for this project. And you can use any AI, and you can ask what will be the most suitable technology for this requirement. Likewise, so selecting a front-end framework, selecting the most suitable front-end framework is really crucial when going with the high quality web application. Then the back-end development technologies. As we discussed earlier, front-end is the point of interaction with the user, but back-end, as the name suggests, backend does not directly interact with the user. It sits behind, it sits in the behind, and work with data that user needs. So it actually backend handles the logic of the application, or the business logic of the application, what the application does in the background. For example, let's think in the front end, we have a login form. Let's think we have a login form, and we have two text boxes for email and password, and user is giving the email and password of his account to log into the system. Now this is where the backend is going to work. Front end is getting the email and password from the user using email and password data. Then that email and password will be transferred to the backend. Now the the backend is handling almost all the other things, like uh, backend is looking for the looking if the user is available with the given email, and if the user is available, then backend is looking if the password is correct and password is matching with the user. And if it is, if the password is matching, then the backend will be returning the message to the front end that this is a valid and legit user. This user can continue using the system. If the password is not matching, then the backend is telling the front end that this user's password is not correct. don't give don't allow the user to use the system. If the user is not present in the list of the users, that is also told by the backend to the front end. So front end is only dealing with the user, getting user inputs and providing outputs to the user. The background logic of the application is completely covered by the backend. So other importance of backend development is system security. Actually, we have to protect data associated with the system, protect the database. So there should be security measures taken and taken for the data protection. And also there are some other concepts like APIs, and we'll discuss them in the next slides. So as well as in the front end development, in back end development too, we have to choose a suitable framework or suitable technology for our requirement. As mentioned in the screen, there are a lot of technologies already available, and these are the most popular technologies. And as front end development, in the back end development too, we have few things to consider when selecting the suitable backend technology, like the application complexity, and also what is the timeline and timeline of the development, and the learning curve of each backend development. For example, if the timeline is again strict and it's only a shorter time is required for the web application development, then you can use this kind of web backend development frameworks for development, because these technologies need a limited learning curve. And if the application complexity is really high and it has a large number of components in the backend, and then you can use a framework like this, frameworks related to Java or frameworks related to C# programming language, because they are giving more powerful features for complex applications, rather than for simple applications. So you have to consider different these things according to the project's requirement, and also with the knowledge base of you. If the knowledge base of the development, if it is a development team, then the knowledge of the development team. So that's backend development. And there are something called APIs related to backend development, and we'll discuss it in the next slide. Before that, the next important thing is database technology. So in web applications, storing data is a really crucial thing, and we have to have an understanding about what data are stored, what is structure of the data that is stored with the application. For example, if it is as the previous example, if it is a e-commerce application, then we have to store data about products that are sold in the e-commerce application, and we have to store the list of users of the application. Then we have to store orders placed by users, we have to store payment histories. So those are the different structures of data that will be stored in application. And another example, if it is an IoT project, or if it is some kind of IoT project, then the data sets will be very large. There will be large number of data points, and then the approach will be different for such kind of scenario. So we have to consider about those things when selecting database technologies. Then the performance requirements. uh, if the system is, if the application is using large number of data, and we need to have good performance with the selected database technology. If it is only a limited number of and small amount of data, it's not a it's not a big deal. But if we have large number of data, we have to think about the performance constraints. And also, when developing web applications, another crucial thing is, most of the times we have to have room for uh, scalability, because web applications are evolving very fast, and requirements are changing with the time, and more and more features are coming in the future. So uh, we have to keep room for scalability, we have to keep room for upcoming features. So that's really important when designing and selecting database technologies. So we have to think about that too. Then uh, as front end and backend, and for database technologies, we have some few alternatives for database technologies, as mentioned in the screen. Different relational database technologies like MySQL and PostgreSQL, or we can use other approaches like non-relational technologies. Actually, relational and relational database technologies is some kind of theoretical thing, and you can search in the internet for what is relational database technology and what is non-relational database technologies, and you can select what is the most suitable and what is the most optimum thing for the web application that you are going to develop. So then only you can find what is the most suitable thing. That I cannot say uh, this is the suitable thing for this and this is the suitable thing for this. Just you have to search on the internet, or you have to think about what kind of data are stored with your application, and what kind of nature will be for the scalability options, and what will be extensive features used in the application, and what kind of performance is needed. Then you can select the suitable database technology. That's all about databases. Then this is what I mentioned about the next part of the backend development. This is APIs and web services. Actually, APIs is not another separate thing. It is actually also referred to as the backend actually, or back. In other words, backend is some kind of collection of APIs. For example, uh, I'll describe it like this. API is some kind of thing uh, thing that is used for example, let's describe with an example. Think about, you have to do something, but you can't do that thing somewhere far from you. පොඩ ඈතින් තියෙන වතුර බෝතල කාට හරි කියලා වතුර බෝතලේ ගෙන්න ගන්නවා නම්, අන්නේ ගේන කෙනා තමයි API එකක් විදිහට අපි වෙබ් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් වලදී හඳුන්වන්නේ. අන්න ඒක තමයි එතකොට API කියන එකේ තියෙන සිම්පල් මීනින් එක. අපිට මොකක් හරි කරගන්න බැරි දෙයක් වෙන කෙනෙක්ට කියලා කරගන්න එක තමයි API කියලා අපි කියන්නේ. and අපි technical පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත්, for example, see the example in the screen. For example, if it is a student administration system, then in the front end you have to get student details of the student ID that the student is input to the front end web page. For example, think student ID is 1025, and you have to get the student details of that student. Then you are requesting from the backend, give me the details of this student relevant with the student ID. Then the backend is searching in the database and giving the relevant student data to the front end. So this is the purpose of the API, or the purpose of the backend API. And the thing we earlier discussed, the backend is a collection of APIs. For example, there will be APIs for uh, creating a user, creating a student, and getting details of a student, and getting details of all students in a faculty, and they will be deleting a student. And if it is a some kind of university administration system, they will be creating lecturers, getting see viewing all the lecturers registered in the system, and deleting a lecturer. And another module, course enrollment module, adding a course, enrolling a student to course. For each of these scenarios, we can have different AP, we can have separate APIs. So collection of these, all these APIs create you the backend. Backend is, it's it's nothing but a collection of APIs. So those are the APIs. So this is a fundamental understanding about what is API. And now you can search on the internet what is an API, and what are the usage of APIs, and how to create APIs with the selected backend technology you have selected, and such kind of things. So this is a basic understanding, and you can search on the internet for what are these things. So learn these terminologies, learn these words. They learn the words front end technologies, have an understanding about backend technologies, and have an understanding about what are the database technologies and what are the purpose of using databases, and learn what are APIs, and learn what's the purpose of using APIs, where to use APIs, and how to create or how to use APIs. And then you can have the understanding about the overall web development terminologies. Then another thing, when we are going on with software development, not only web development, any software development process is version control systems. When you are developing a software application, uh, application is it's created with the with the with the timeline. It's not created with a couple of in a couple of days. It will take time. It will take 1 month or 2 months, or maybe few months. So so you have to track the code changes with the development, and maybe there may be errors with the development, and maybe you are not developing it by own. There will be a development team. There will be a team of 4 to 5 members if you are going on with the academic project. So you have to collaborate with with the team members. And then you need version control systems. So most popular version control system is GitHub and Git. So you can practice code tracking, you can practice code reviewing, you can go on with collaborative coding, go on with a team of development with using this kind of version control system. So as the earlier things, search what are control version control systems, and search what is GitHub. Search what is the purpose of GitHub. Search and where to use GitHub, and when you are going on with a project, then learn how to use GitHub, and what are the features that you are going to use. Not all the features are useful to you. What are the features that will be useful as entry level developers in version control systems. Likewise, search and learn what are the technologies behind these each terminology. I'm not mentioning all the things, but I'm giving an understanding about what are the boundaries of this web development. Then you can search and learn what are these things, and what are the advanced things behind these concepts. So after this session, search what are control version control systems, what are the features of that, what are the importance for you as a software developer from version control systems, and how to make it useful for your web development project, or your any kind of software development project. Okay, this is the, I think this is the last thing that we are going to discuss about the technical aspects today. So modern, actually, maybe not modern, but related tools that you can use for used to simplify and also used to make the development process more convenient. අපිට කරන්න තියෙන දේවල් ටිකක් අපි වෙබ් ඩෙවලොපර්ස් විදිහට ලේසියෙන් සහ පහසුවෙන් ඒ වගේම ඉක්මනින් කරන්න පුළුවන් ක්‍රම and technologies තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. There are no any hard and fast rules that you have to use these technologies for smoother development, but you can refer these things and what are the importance of using this kind of technologies with web development projects. For example, these development frameworks, Next.js is a full stack development framework that you can use for both front end and back end development. Earlier we learned there are separate front end development frameworks and back end development frameworks. Now you can search what is Next.js and what is full stack development framework and what are the usage, what are the important of using Next.js framework. Then Fast API is another popular backend development framework that use Python as the programming language. I think most of the students these days have proficiencies in Python language. So search what is Fast API and what are the importance of using Fast API and what are the advantages of using Fast API backend framework. And you can see the importance. If you are fluent in Python language, search what is Fast API. Then for database technologies, another tool that we can use these days without any without giving any payments for database services, Supabase is a tool that we can use as an alternative for databases. It is a free of charge tool. You have a free tier of using it and you can use for your database requirements. Then search what is Supabase and where you can use Supabase for your database requirements. Then documentation is a really important and really crucial practice. For example, even if it is an individual project, if your code is not documented, you will forget everything about that code after about 2 to 3 months. For example, I cannot remind what are the things that I done in the projects that I built before about 1 year ago. So documenting your code is really crucial thing. And if you are working with the development team, that is really crucial because other team members should have the understanding about what you are creating, and you have to have an understanding about what they are creating. So documenting things is really crucial. So you can use the mentioned technologies, Swagger or Postman. That actually they are tools for API for requirements like API documentation. So search what is Swagger, search what is Postman, and they are related to API development and they are connected to each other. When you are looking for API development knowledge, then you can have the understanding about these API documentation tools also. Then DevOps or develop operations. After creating the web application or the software application, you have to deliver the application to the users, as we discussed earlier. So you can use this kind of DevOps technologies like Versal is a free of charge tool that is that we can use for web development, web deployment process, website deployment. And also Firebase is also giving us a large range of services like database, and Firebase is giving us file storage, and if you want to store images or any documents related to your web application, you can use Firebase file storage. And also Firebase is providing website deployment services, and Firebase is is a service given by Google, so you can use it and you can see what are the features. And AWS and Azure clouds, the next things, there are some complex things, and we need to pay for their services. Firebase and Vercel are something free of charge for a certain extent, but AWS and Azure cloud need payment. But search for those things, learn what are these things, what are these tools, what are these technologies, and what are the purpose of using, what will be suitable for each kind of requirement, what will be suitable for each scenario. So MQTT is another technology, or it is not some kind of protocol that we can use for real-time applications. For example, uh, if you are creating a web application for a restaurant, think about cashier. In the cashier is restaurant cashier is placing an order, and there is another computer in the kitchen, and when the order is placed from the cashier, that will be that should be reflected in the kitchen computer in the kitchen. So how to accommodate that, how to create that real-time communication channel, so you can use MQTT protocol for that. So if you have an requirement for a future project that you are going to develop, like a real-time communication requirement, you can see what is MQTT technology and how to use MQTT technology for your requirement. So have an understanding about these terminologies. You don't have to use all these things for your web applications. Actually, you may not need to do 10% of the things that you have learned today, but have an understanding about there are these technologies in the world, that there are different purposes of using these technologies, and I can use this for this requirement. So that's understanding is the most crucial thing, and you can select whatever the things that you want to use when the real requirement comes up. So okay, then let's quickly discuss about what are the roles associated with the web development. You know, then now we have discussed different aspects of web development: front-end development, back-end development, database technologies, and we have discussed about software testing, discuss about software deployment, UI UX design. So let's see what are the roles associated with the web development process, and what industry expects from you. So the most popular one is front end development and back end development. So this is two separate roles. You can be either front end developer, who is specialized for creating web application front ends using different front end technologies, or you can be a back end developer. If you are a creative person, if you have a good eye, and you have a good sense of visual styling, you can be a front end developer. You will be fluent on front end development. But if you have a good logical thinking ability, good problem solving abilities, then you can be a front end back end developer. You can create business logics of the application and how the background of the application is working. Don't think these are don't compare these things. Actually, both of these are really important for the sake of the quality of the web application. If even if you have thousands of features with thousands of complex features in the backend, but if you don't have a good appealing front end, then no one will use your web application. But you may have a good appealing and really beautiful user interfaces with a good user experience, but if your application don't have useful features to use, then no one will use the application. So both of these are important for the sake of the quality of the application. So it is no need to differentiate even as front end developer, back end developer. You can be a full stack developer. As myself, I am a full stack developer. I prefer developing both of these. And also industry expects you to be a full stack developer. You have to have knowledge about both front end and back end development. So you can select either one path, or you can go on with the both pathways. Then another different thing is UI UX designing. This is uh, if you have a good creative mindset, you can create beautiful, and you can understand users mindsets. You can if you can understand point of view of different users, then you can be a good UI UX designer. You can design beautiful UIs. You can think about users point of views, users perspectives. And actually it's not about creating, it's not about graphic designing. UI UX is some kind of logical thing. You have to think about point of view of users for different scenarios. It's a really interesting field of development, and it's really important than the previous front end and back end development too. So think about that. If you have a skill in such kind of field, that will be really important. Then another two roles is quality assurance and DevOps engineering. Quality assurance is the field of testing that we earlier discussed, ensuring the applications the developers developing are, uh, are able to use, and there are no errors with the applications, and all the requirements are satisfied with the developed features, and there are no confusions of using. Users can conveniently use the developed application without confusions. And those are the roles of a quality assurance engineer. So that's also a really demanding role in the current industry. There are a lot of vacancies for quality assurance engineers in IT companies. Again, think about such kind of path too, about being a quality assurance engineer, ensuring quality of the application. Even an application is created by the most skillful person in people in the people skillful developers in the world, that application may have quality issues. So quality assurance is really important in the sake of developing high quality applications. Then DevOps engineering is the next part. You can facilitate in deployment and hosting facilities, and ensuring the deployed applications are working continuously without issues, without downtimes. වැඩේ අවුල් වෙන්නේ නැතුව දිගටම ලස්සනට යනවද, හොඳට හොස්ට් වෙලා තියෙනවද, හොඳට කට්ටියට යූස් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද, performance හොඳයිද, DevOps engineers lage responsibility. So it's also another really interesting topic to discuss, and really important field to have knowledge. So Hey guys, I think I was missed off. Can someone tell? Am my voice is clear to you guys? So, can you tell where I was left off? Is, is I was in the meeting when I start discussing these things? Hello. Okay, just give me a heads up. මට කවුරු හරි කියනවා පොඩ්ඩක් මේ මම නැවත දැන් පේනවද කියලා? Okay. 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 I don't know where I was left off, but I'll start again with this. My key takeaways for you as entry level developers from my experience mindset. So this is the final slide actually. So these are the steps that you have to follow as entry level developers without starting developments, without starting coding actually. You have to think about these steps for being a, being a being a good software developer, being a good engineer, as well as creating high quality outputs. So before start coding, always try to have a broad understanding about what we are going to develop. මොකක්ද හදන්න යන්නේ කියන එක ගැන හොඳ idea එකක් තියාගන්න. You have to have a broad understanding. You have to have a high level picture of what is the outcome of the product you are going to develop. What is the outcome of the web application you are going to develop. Then you try to finalize requirements. Most of the times we cannot finalize up to 100% requirements. There will be changing features, even if it is a individual project that will be developed only by you. There will be changing requirements, so you cannot have a finalized image of the web application, but at least try to have an understanding about what are the most critical features and what are the optional features. Then you can start your project without any confusions, and you can go on with the smooth development process. Then third one is always keep room for testing. And testing, as I mentioned earlier, testing is the most crucial thing. And most of the times you are creating an application for some users, so users don't want to use an application full of errors or full of bugs. So always after developing something, always try to test it as much as possible. Always try to test in every possible scenarios and every thing that user might have confusions. Try to test in all the scenarios. So another thing is selecting tech stack according to the system complexity. And as entry level developers, you may try to select technologies according to your already having understandings, or according to your learning curves, but always try to select the most suitable thing, or select what is the most matching thing for your project's requirement, not for you actually. That's a really crucial thing, and you can you with such kind of approach, you can make things really easy than you think. Then the final one is maintain proper coding standards from the start of the project. Search and learn what are the clean coding practices, and what are the things that you can follow for good coding standards you can follow as good software developers. You can code without any these kind of standards, and you can just start coding and here and there, but as 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 quality software developers, you have to follow clean coding standards, and you have to follow coding practices from the start, and also follow practice documentation too, because that will be a good practice when you are going to work as a team at the uh, at the at the beginning of your career. So maintain these standards, and practice this, learn these standards. What are the standards of coding, what are the standards of web development, and then practice them from the first project you are going to work. And that will be an added advantage for your career as a software developer. So those are the advices that I have to give uh, to entry level developers. So I think those are the things that I was got ready to discuss with you. Actually, I think I haven't gone too much deep about everything. I was hoping to give an understanding about various technologies, various concepts in this web development field. Now you have the understanding. Now you know there are these kind of technologies, and you can search on the internet. What are these things? What are the core concepts behind this? And what are the things that I should learn for my requirement? So that's my basic, and that's my intention of conducting this session today. So before ending, if anyone has any question, so you can raise any question, you can hands up, or you can type on the chat also. Just English known as English කතා කරලා අහන්න මොනවා හරි දැනගන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවද, ප්‍රශ්නයක් මොනවා හරි දැනගන්න තියෙනවද කියලා. chat එකේ හරි දාන්න ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා. පොඩි වෙලාවක් බලමු නේද? So guys, do you have any questions? I think no one having questions. That's really usual in these kind of sessions. Try to ask questions. And okay, I think you got something with my session. I think you got an understanding about various technologies in web development, and what are the basic things, what are the advanced things, and what are the steps of a developer rather than coding here and there. So I think you got some important tips from my side, and this is the end of my session. And you can follow Hypercube from our website, and you can follow Hypercube consultant services in the LinkedIn, and also you can reach me through LinkedIn. You can see the LinkedIn account in the screen, and if you have any questions, if you need any career guidance, or if you need any technical guidance, just reach me through LinkedIn. I will help you as much as I possible. So I think that's then from my side. And organizers, if any delegate have any questions that need to ask or that need to clarify, please reach them out to me, and I will try as much as I can to resolve the issues. So before ending, thank you very much again, guys, for this opportunity to reach with you, for reach with entry-level developers, and reach with young enthusiastic ID guys. So thank you very much. Thank you, Rotaract, University of Moratuwa, and yeah, sure. And you can continue with the session.
Thank you so much, Sangbim sir, for that informative and hands-on session. Your expertise has given us a deeper understanding of HTML and CSS. We are sure all of the participants are leaving today with new skills and ideas for their development projects. We'd also like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Hypercube, IAS Labs, our knowledge partners for supporting today's event and contributing to the success of Mora TechConnect. A big thank you as well to all of you, our participants, for being here today. Your curiosity and commitment to learning are what made Mora TechConnect a successful and impactful initiative. Firstly, thank you to the organizing team and the Rotaract Club of the University of Moratuwa for making this event possible. We hope this session has been useful to you and encourage you to join us for our future webinars, where we'll dive into more exciting tech topics. Thank you once again, Sankar Binsara, and we look forward to seeing all of you all at our next session. Over to you, organizer.